To outsiders, it looked like I had chased Ryan for 3 years without ever succeeding. But only he and I knew the truth. We had been secretly dating for all those years. At a party, someone joked, "If Ryan keeps turning you down, are you planning to stay single forever?" Even Ryan laughed and said, "I know plenty of people. Want me to introduce you to someone just for fun?" In my previous life, I couldn't take it anymore and blurted out the truth. We were together. The transfer student, Celine, ran off crying. Ryan didn't say much in public. But behind the scenes, he grew colder and more distant by the day. After we got married, when I was rushed into surgery after a car crash during my pregnancy, he was vacationing in the Maldives with Celine. When I died with our unborn child and was sent straight to the crematorium, he was at a Michelin-starred restaurant celebrating Celine's birthday. It was only then that I realized he had never loved me at all. Given a second chance at life, I simply smiled and said, "No need, I'm already engaged." Chapter 1. The room fell silent. Almost instinctively, everyone turned to look at Ryan. He leaned back on the sofa. His usual lazy posture suddenly stiffened. Then he let out a scoff. "Perfect. Saves me the trouble of you chasing after me every day and driving me crazy." I smiled faintly and said nothing. The atmosphere turned awkward. Our friend who organized the gathering tried to lighten the mood and shouted, come on, let's continue the game. This round's Ryan's turn. The task is to pick someone of the opposite sex here and kiss them for 30 seconds. It should have been a fun, flirty moment, but the room went silent again, because only 2 women were present, me and the transfer student, Celine. Everyone knew that since the day Celine transferred in, she and I never got along. The friend who initiated the game gave an awkward laugh. "Ryan, maybe just take a drink instead." "No need." Ryan stubbed out his cigarette, then without a hint of hesitation, turned and grabbed the back of Celine's head, and kissed her. Celine let out a soft gasp like a startled deer, then shyly closed her eyes. When the kiss ended, Ryan slouched back into the sofa, but his eyes fixed on me. "It's just a game. Don't be such a sore loser." The people around us burst into laughter. A friend sitting beside me gave me a sympathetic glance. I was about to say something when my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text. "Did you get home yet?" I stood up from the sofa and said to everyone, "I've got something to take care of. I'll head out first." Without waiting for a response, I left the room. Chapter 2. I was reborn a month ago. The very first thing I did after returning was break up with Ryan and accept my family's arrangement to get engaged to Kevin, a well-known heir from Port City. In my previous life, my family had made the same arrangement, but back then, I was blindly in love with Ryan and rejected the engagement outright. When I died on the operating table, Ryan was off traveling the world with Celine. It was Kevin who claimed my body and arranged my funeral. I looked down at my phone and replied to his message. "Not yet. I'm about to head home now. Kevin's grandfather's birthday is coming up tonight." We had planned a video call to pick out a gift together. A few more notifications buzzed in. I looked down. It was from Ryan. "What's wrong? Can't handle walking away? Didn't you just act all bold, lying about being engaged just to get under my skin?" I stared at the messages for a moment. Right above them was my breakup text from a month ago, which he never replied to. I lowered my eyes and didn't respond. I just slipped my phone back into my bag. By the curb, a black Maybach was already waiting. "It's not safe to go home alone at night. I sent you a car. Sorry. I'm tied up in Port City lately and couldn't come pick you up myself." I smiled and replied, "It's okay. Focus on your work." Chapter 3. Kevin came from a powerful family. His grandfather's birthday banquet would be held in grand style. Kevin had already prepared a gift for me to bring, but I still wanted to pick something myself to show sincerity. The moment the video call connected, a handsome face appeared on the screen. He was dressed all in black, with a straight nose and deep, dark eyes. Under the light, his thin lips looked sharply defined. Kevin's voice didn't quite match his cold appearance. He looked distant, but spoke with warmth. I showed him each of the gifts I had chosen based on his grandfather's preferences. He was very patient, offering comments and suggestions. Without realizing it, we talked for over an hour. As the call ended, he said, "Rita, I'll have someone pick you up this weekend." I nodded and replied softly, "Okay." After hanging up, I went to wash up. When I returned to bed and picked up my phone, I saw a message from a friend. "Rita, are you okay? I arranged that gathering today to help patch things up between you and Ryan. I didn't expect things to go that way." I replied with a cheerful sticker, showing I was totally fine. After a moment of thought, I sent another message. "I'm really engaged now. Ryan and I won't have anything to do with each other anymore." My friend's typing indicator showed up for a long while. And then came the reply, "If you've truly moved on, then I'm glad." I curled my lips into a faint smile, exited the chat, and began scrolling through my feed. The latest post was from Ryan, introducing my new girlfriend. "She's my favorite." The picture showed him with Celine. The tone of the caption, along with the emojis, clearly wasn't written by him. It was funny. In the 3 years I dated Ryan, he never even let me touch his phone, let alone post anything for him. But now, it didn't matter anymore. Not long after I turned off my phone, I drifted into sleep. Yet just as I was sound asleep, the ringtone suddenly pierced the silence. Eyes squinting, I groped around and picked up the call. The next second, Ryan's voice came through the speaker. "Rita, I drank too much. Come pick me up." I instantly sobered up, cursing my bad luck. Should have blocked his number. When I didn't say anything, Ryan chuckled. "Still mad? Saw the post. Huh?" His tone was playful, amused. "Just a forfeit from a game. I'll delete it in 3 days." I replied coldly, "It's none of my business." That seemed to trigger something in him. His laugh grew deeper, more delighted. "All right. Don't be so pouty. I'll buy you those soup dumplings from East City tomorrow morning. The ones you love. Save room. Be good." That last word made my stomach turn. I hung up immediately, blocked his number, shut off my phone, and went back to sleep. Chapter 4. Early the next morning, I arrived at the classroom. Celine was already there, eating breakfast. When she saw me, she smiled faintly, then turned to Ryan, who was dozing on his desk, and said, "Ryan, thank you for going all the way to East City this morning to get me soup dumplings. I'm so happy." Ryan lazily opened his eyes. "You like them?" "So." Before he finished the sentence, he spotted me and suddenly fell silent. I walked past them without a glance and took my seat, flipping open a book. After class, I headed to the restroom and got cornered by Ryan. "Rita, Celine said her stomach was upset this morning. So." "Oh." I cut him off with a nod before he could finish and tried to walk past him. Ryan frowned and grabbed my wrist. "Rita, don't be so petty. If it were any other classmate who didn't feel well, you'd do the same, wouldn't you?" I shook him off and let out a cold laugh. Situations like this had happened far too many times. Celine always had a way to snatch away the things Ryan promised to give me, using various excuses. She acted innocent, always so soft-spoken. She'd tear up and say, "I'm sorry, Rita. It's my fault." Compared to her, I looked unreasonable, hot-tempered and immature. Ryan rubbed his temples. "Okay, don't be mad. Tomorrow's the weekend. I'll take you out of town. Dinner, a movie, okay?" That was always how Ryan handled arguments. Never an apology, never a real solution. A movie, a meal, and just like that, everything was supposed to go back to normal. I ignored him and walked away. Chapter 5. The next morning, when I got up, the car from Kevin's family was already waiting downstairs. I was slightly surprised. They hadn't even tried to wake me. Just as I was about to say something, a new message came in, from Ryan, using a new number. "Rita, something came up this weekend. Can't take you to the movies. Be good. Take care of yourself. Eat well. If I find out you're being naughty, I'll spank you. Also, unblock your husband's number." His words made me gag. It was nauseating. And first thing in the morning, too. What a rotten way to start the day. I made a mental note. I really needed to get a new SIM card soon. Chapter 6. 3 hours later, I landed in Harbor City. As soon as I got off the plane, Kevin's mom came to greet me. She and my mother had been best friends since childhood. One stayed in the capital. The other married into a family in Harbor City. Though they lived far apart, their bond never faded. Kevin's mother happily looped her arm around mine and looked around. Where's that rascal Kevin run off to? The butler nearby answered. Young master was just here waiting for Miss. But the chairman called him away for business. The way the butler called me Mrs. made me feel a little shy. That boy is always working. Kevin's mom muttered. Come, let me show you around first. I glanced down at my phone. Kevin had just messaged me. Wait for me, I'll be there soon. I replied. Okay. Kevin's mom took me around to greet the guests. To everyone, she proudly said, This is my daughter-in-law, Rita. Isn't she beautiful? Ma'am, your son's still single, right? Not anymore. This here's my future daughter-in-law. You'll get a wedding invite for sure. Oh my, how lovely. It was exhausting. Thankfully, there were so many people at the party that Kevin's mom got swept up with other guests. Before leaving, she asked the butler to stay with me. There's a garden outside filled with flowers you like. Take a look, dear. I blinked in surprise. Flowers I like? The butler smiled. Yes, miss. The young master started preparing it a month ago. We've come to know your preferences very well. I was honestly shocked. Despite not knowing Kevin that well yet, he had taken the time to learn about my likes in such detail. Thank you. I'll go have a look. When I stepped into the garden, just like he said, it was filled with all my favorite flowers. As I admired them, a familiar voice called out from ahead. Rita, what are you doing here? I looked up and saw Celine standing there in shock. Next to her was Ryan, the same Ryan who had messaged me just this morning, saying he had urgent plans for the weekend. Chapter 7. Ryan froze when he saw me. He quickly walked over. What are you doing here? Behind him, Celine clutched the edge of his sleeve, looking nervous as she spoke. Rita, I didn't expect you to secretly follow us here. Please don't blame Ryan. He actually wanted to bring you. But you know, my family's poor. I've never been to another city before. Ryan's just too kind. He wanted to give me a chance to see the world. I'm sorry. If you're upset, blame me. Her eyes reddened as she spoke. Same act, same tricks, over and over. Ryan grabbed my arm. Since you came here on your own, just stay behind me and don't wander around. This is an important event. His touch made my skin crawl with disgust. But we were at Kevin's family estate, with guests all around. I didn't want a scene, so I coldly yanked my arm free. Ryan frowned. Rita, stop being childish. I was irritated. I turned around and was about to retort when the butler appeared with several bodyguards. I was momentarily stunned. Uncle. Before I could say more, the guards had already stepped forward and seized Ryan and Celine. The butler calmly said, Throw them out. It all happened so fast that by the time I processed what was going on, both Ryan and Celine were gone. The butler smiled at me. Miss Rita, if you ever need anything, just let us know. With us around, no one will dare to bully you. The young master is waiting for you. As I turned around, I met a pair of deep, obsidian eyes. Chapter 8. It was my first time meeting Kevin in person, and he was even more attractive than in video. The shoulders of his suit were razor sharp. His waist tapered cleanly, and the tailored black pants framed a pair of long legs. The engagement had been settled by both families over a phone call after Kevin and I gave our consent. Rita. Kevin walked toward me. I thought there would be some awkwardness for a first meeting, but instead, he naturally took my hand. No hesitation at all. His voice was just as gentle as it had been over video. Are you hungry? Let's get you something to eat. After hours on a plane, I really was. Kevin led me to the dining room. Every single dish on the table was something I liked. It caught me a little off guard. Kevin sat beside me, calmly putting on gloves and peeling shrimp for me. Every movement was elegant and refined, effortlessly noble. I felt a little embarrassed. Later, I met the elders of the family alongside Kevin. By the time the banquet ended, the gifts filled 5 suitcases. Kevin personally accompanied me back to the capital. Before parting ways, I hesitated, then asked, Kevin, how did you find out all my preferences? From flowers, to food, to the gifts, it was all so precise. Kevin smiled, eyes sincere. I've always known. But I don't even know what you like yet. He curved his lips slightly. There's still time. You'll get to know me, little by little. I nodded quietly. It was getting late, and Kevin had business to attend to. He had to rush back that night. After saying goodbye, I went upstairs, and at the door, I saw Ryan. Chapter 9. He had no idea how long he'd been waiting. When he saw me, his face was full of anger. Rita, where have you been? My expression turned cold. What's it got to do with you? He let out a short, disbelieving laugh. What's it got to do with me? Do you even remember that I'm your boyfriend? I replied with a mocking tone. Really? Because the girl your friend publicly declared as your girlfriend wasn't me, and I broke up with you a month ago. Remember? Ryan's face twitched, but the next second, he grabbed my wrist. Come with me right now and apologize to Celine. What? When I didn't move, the anger on Ryan's face deepened. I didn't expect you to have relatives working for Kevin's family. Fine, but following me secretly to Hong Kong, and then getting your so-called uncle to throw Celine and me out in public, do you know how much that hurt Celine's self-esteem? She's sensitive and proud. After that humiliation, she's been so upset she wants to drop out. When did you become so cruel? His words made me scoff. I knew he misunderstood my relationship with the housekeeper. In my previous life, I had thought Celine didn't know about me and Ryan, that she'd been tricked just like I had. But right before I died, I received a message from her that proved she had known all along. Not my F***king problem. I didn't want to argue with Ryan anymore. I opened the door and walked in. Ryan stared at me for a long time, then sneered, took a step back, and said calmly, "You've changed, Rita, really." Then he turned and left. Chapter 10. The next morning, as soon as I arrived at the classroom, I noticed classmates looking at me with sympathetic eyes. I didn't understand why until I saw that everyone had candy on their desks. Mine had even more. My friend Sabrina came over, her expression complicated. Those are wedding candies from Ryan and Celine. I nodded, indicating I understood. Sabrina glanced at me, opened her mouth to say something, but in the end said nothing. A few days later, she stormed over to me, holding her phone and fuming. Ryan and Celine took 2 weeks off. He took her abroad for a vacation to cheer her up. She showed me a picture from social media, Ryan and Celine together. Celine had her arms around Ryan's waist, smiling brightly, while Ryan rested his hand on her head. Sabrina was furious on my behalf. You chased Ryan for 3 years and never succeeded. Celine transferred just 2 months ago. And now, I stared at the book in front of me without lifting my head. I've said it many times, what he does has nothing to do with me anymore. Sabrina sighed. Guess you two just weren't meant to be. She patted my shoulder. How about hanging out after school tonight? I booked a private room at Nightfall Lounge. I didn't say no. I nodded. Chapter 11. Sabrina skipped a class and went ahead early. I waited until school was over to go. By the time I arrived, there were already people in the private room. Seated in the innermost corner were Ryan and Celine. Sabrina rushed over and grabbed my arm, dragging me into the room. Look who's here, she announced loudly. My expression darkened. Ryan leaned lazily against the sofa, letting out a sarcastic chuckle as he gave me a half-smile. I turned to look at Sabrina. Her expression wavered, avoiding my eyes. But she still urged me. Rita, go sit over there. There's a seat next to them. I said nothing and simply stared at her. Sabrina and I had known each other since we started school. We went to class together, ate together, hung out during holidays. I had genuinely considered her a friend. Ryan stood up from the sofa, casually. He draped his arm around Celine's shoulders and tilted her chin up. Let's go. Didn't you say you wanted desserts from that sea place tonight? I'll take you now. Celine's cheeks turned red, and she nodded sweetly. As they passed me, Celine turned her head back to shoot me a smug smile. Sabrina saw it too. She fumed. Rita, did you see that? How arrogant she is. I stayed silent and looked at her calmly. Sabrina bit her lip and said, Rita, I seriously can't stand Celine. I mean, mainly I just feel bad for you. Why should she get ahead when she came in so late? I finally spoke. Let's not keep in touch anymore. Chapter 12. When I walked out of the club, Ryan was leaning alone against the entrance, smoking. Seeing me, he put out his cigarette and blocked my way, with a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. You've held out longer this time. New record. What's the matter? Getting shy now? You didn't come begging this time, sent your friend instead? Over the past 3 years, Ryan and I had had cold wars, but each time, he would ignore me completely, and I wouldn't last more than a few days before giving in and asking to make up. He chuckled and reached out to touch my head. All right. I guess you've had time to reflect this past half month. You probably realize you were wrong now. I tried to dodge, but he stopped mid-gesture, because Celine had just appeared not far away, holding a box of desserts. She said nothing, just stood there quietly, eyes tinged red. Ryan looked at me, then at her. In the end, he lowered his hand and said to me, "Go home, Rita. I'll come find you tonight." With that, he walked toward Celine. Chapter 13. Celine handed the dessert to Ryan, her voice slightly choked. "Ryan, do you want to eat this?" Normally, Ryan would have smiled and asked her to feed him, but after seeing Rita just now, Ryan said, "Not now, Celine. I'm going to delete the post on Moments." Since Rita had taken the initiative to come to him, Ryan felt he had to give her some kind of response. After all, she was the girlfriend he'd been with for 3 years. Celine's voice trembled, but she still replied, "Okay." Then she added, "Ryan, it's getting late, and I'm afraid to go home alone. Could you walk me back?" Ryan didn't refuse. Chapter 14. That night, after getting ready for bed, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a photo. When I opened it, I saw Ryan and Celine lying in bed together, snuggled up as they slept. "Rita, Ryan is mine. You can't take him away." It was obvious who sent it. I chuckled and replied, "Trash belongs in the trash. You two are a perfect match." Celine, clearly not satisfied, sent another photo in a different pose with Ryan. "Still acting tough? Hope you're not crying under the covers." I rolled my eyes. Idiot. The next morning, I went to class. Not long after I sat down, Ryan took the seat next to me. I brought soup dumplings, your favorite. When I looked at him, he tilted his chin slightly. "What are you looking at me for? Touched? Eat up before it gets cold." Ryan always had a way of saying things that made me sick. We used to be desk mates, but after Celine came, he moved next to her under the pretense of helping the new student. Now he was back, and I had no idea what game he was playing. The teacher was already in the classroom, so I didn't want to argue and disrupt the lesson. I held back, but after class, I went straight to the teacher to change my seat. After school, Ryan blocked me at the school gate, frowning. "Rita, what's going on? Why did you switch seats?" I looked at him calmly. "Because I wanted to." "No reason." He stared at me, then suddenly laughed. "All right. Stop being petty. I was going to come see you last night, but it got too late. I didn't want to wake you." Then he pulled out his phone and showed it to me proudly. "Look, I deleted everything from my Moments. If you want to check my phone in the future, go ahead, okay?" He suddenly leaned in close and lowered his voice, adding a flirtatious tone. I couldn't help it. I stepped back and vomited right in front of him. Ryan's expression darkened. "Rita." Just as I was about to speak, my phone rang. It was Kevin. "Rita, I'm outside your school." My eyes lit up. I looked around. A low-profile but luxurious Maybach was parked nearby. I quickly walked over. The car started and drove off from the school gate. Sitting in the passenger seat, I hesitated, then said, "He's my ex. But we've broken up." I felt a little nervous after saying that. Kevin smiled, not the least bit surprised. "Yeah, I know. I don't mind." Then he paused and added, "Rita, I don't mind not because I don't care about you, but because I care about you deeply. You're the one I've chosen. I can accept everything about your past." Seeing the sincerity in his eyes, I couldn't help but feel touched. My eyes turned red, and I looked away, sniffling. Kevin didn't say anything more. He just held my hand even tighter. Chapter 15. This time, Kevin came to the capital with his parents. They planned to stay in Beijing for a few days to hold a makeup engagement banquet for the two of us. The two families had agreed the engagement would be held in Beijing, and the wedding would take place in Hong Kong. Kevin had come to pick me up to go to the restaurant. Our parents were already waiting for us there. After getting out of the car, I glanced at my phone and noticed a lot of messages and missed calls. I frowned. This was my newly changed number. All the messages and calls were from Ryan. Rita, whose car did you just get into? Rita, answer the phone. Don't make me angry. Rita. Ryan called again. I immediately hung up and then blocked his number. I also set my phone to do not disturb for unknown numbers. Kevin had been patiently waiting beside me. When I finished, he gently took my hand and said softly, "Let's go." Chapter 16. I wasn't fond of crowded events, so the engagement banquet was a small gathering with only close family from both sides. After the meal, our parents returned home and asked Kevin to stay in Beijing for a few more days to spend time with me. Just as we were chatting, I started receiving several WeChat messages from friends and classmates. Rita, wow, so you secretly got Ryan? Damn, I thought you were just simping for him the whole time. Turns out you locked him down ages ago. Rita, what's going on? Tell us everything. I'm dying of curiosity. I frowned and clicked on one of the screenshots someone sent. It was a new post from Ryan on Moments. Let me introduce my girlfriend of 3 years, Rita. In that instant, a wave of anger surged through me. I turned to Kevin and asked, "Can we take a photo together?" Kevin didn't say a word. He simply wrapped his arm around my shoulder and took the phone, snapping a picture of us. Then I posted that photo to my own Moments. Within seconds, the feed exploded. Friend after friend started messaging me, asking what was going on. In the comments section, I posted the photo I had taken months ago, the one where I had officially broken up with Ryan. Chapter 17. When Kevin and I returned home, we ran into Ryan at the door. His eyes were bloodshot, fists clenched tightly, staring at me in disbelief. Rita, how could you do this to me? It's all fake, right? I know. You're just mad that I stood you up a few times. I promise I won't do it again, okay? Rita, don't use another man just to make me jealous. He rushed toward me and tried to grab my hand, but Kevin stepped in and blocked him. Ryan was tall, but still half a head shorter than Kevin. Furious, Ryan tried to shove Kevin aside, but before he could, I slapped him across the face. Ryan, can you stop disgusting me? Silence fell. You think I'm dating someone else just to provoke you? Do you even hear how shameless that sounds? You may not be embarrassed, but I'm absolutely sickened. I broke up with you a long time ago. I told you we're done. I'm engaged now. Stop bothering me. The whole scene was laughably absurd. In my past life, I clung to him and ended up marrying him. But after we got married, Ryan treated me with constant coldness even when I was dying. He was out traveling with Celine. Now, I wanted nothing more than to be done with him, and he refused to let go. Was he just that pathetic? Ryan didn't respond. He stood there motionless, watching as Kevin and I walked into the house. In that moment, he finally realized Rita wasn't joking. Whatever they once had was gone for good. Chapter 18. It just so happened that the following days were holidays, so Kevin and I went on a short trip together. When we came back, a friend casually shared some news. Ryan and Celine got engaged. That's good for them, I replied calmly. In my past life, Ryan had always wanted to be with Celine, but because of me, their love couldn't flourish. This time around, I guess they finally got what they wanted. You wouldn't believe it though, they made a complete fool of themselves. My friend said. I raised an eyebrow. Made a scene? Yeah, she nodded. You know how fast gossip spreads on campus. Someone dug up that Ryan was doing all sorts of flirty things with Celine while he was still with you. To save face, Ryan came forward and claimed he and Celine were just friends, said he lost a game and that's all it was. Pfft. She rolled her eyes. Who takes their friend on a romantic overseas trip and cuddles up with them? Oh right, that kind of friend. Boyfriend or girlfriend? I gave a small smile. Honestly, Ryan is trash. But Celine, she's something else. She played along with Ryan's excuse and went public saying they were just friends too. And then, she turned around and showed up at his house with a pregnancy test. A pregnancy test? I echoed. I suddenly remembered the photo Celine had sent me, her and Ryan lying in bed together. And yet the next morning, Ryan had the audacity to act like nothing happened, even trying to get back with me. The very thought of him made me sick. My friend nodded, with something that shameful. Ryan's family couldn't let the scandal get out. They immediately arranged the engagement. At the end, she added with relief, "Good thing you broke up with him, honestly. I always wanted to tell you that Ryan didn't seem like someone who could be loyal in love. He's not marriage material." Wise decision? It was, but it cost me a whole lifetime to learn it. Chapter 19. In the days that followed, I was busy preparing for my graduation exams and postgraduate entrance test. Even so, Kevin came to see me every weekend without fail. That day happened to be my birthday, something I had completely forgotten. But Kevin showed up with a birthday cake and a bouquet of fresh flowers. The thing was, I didn't remember ever telling Kevin my birthday. "You know so much about me," I said, narrowing my eyes. "What's your deal?" Kevin chuckled. "Maybe we're just kindred spirits. Is that so?" I remained skeptical, but in private, I still went to his mother to learn more about Kevin. That's when she told me something surprising. Kevin and I had actually met when we were little. I was shocked. "When? Why don't I remember that?" "When you were about 5. She said, "I brought Kevin to your house. You kept shouting that Kevin was handsome and that you wanted to marry him when you grew up." I turned red with embarrassment. I had no memory of that at all. When I was 5, I'd fallen into a river and developed a high fever. After that, I forgot everything that had happened before the age of 5. Chapter 20. The next time I heard about Ryan and Celine was a few months later. I was shocked to learn that Ryan had been sent to prison. Right after graduation, my friend said, his family rushed the wedding between him and Celine. But after marriage, they fought all the time. Every time they argued, Ryan would disappear all night, hitting up bars and doing who knows what. Eventually, Celine couldn't take it anymore. She brought the baby to the bar herself to drag him home. Ryan thought she was embarrassing him in public. So in the middle of the argument, he shoved her. Her head hit the edge of a table. Just his luck, it struck a nerve. She died instantly. The story left me a bit speechless. Of course her family wasn't going to let that slide. My friend continued. They asked Ryan's family to pay up, but his family has too many kids. They thought Ryan and Celine were a disgrace and didn't want to spend a dime to protect him. They turned him in right away. Hearing that made me sigh. I already knew firsthand how cold and heartless Ryan's family could be. Back in my past life, when I got into a car accident while pregnant and was rushed into surgery, I couldn't reach Ryan, and when I called his family, they simply told me to handle it myself. Anyway, enough about that. Your man's here to get you. My friend winked. I looked up and saw Kevin standing nearby, smiling warmly at me. I stood up and naturally slipped my hand into his arm. "Today's not a weekend," I teased. "Why are you here?" Kevin ruffled my hair and said, "I missed you, so I came." I smiled. That's the perfect answer. Chapter 21. Kevin's side story. I first met Rita when she was 5 and I was 8. According to my mom, Rita was the little wife she picked for me. We were supposed to get married in the future. I was immediately against it. How could I marry someone I had never even met? I didn't want to go, but I was too young to resist the adults. So in the end, I was dragged to the Jiang family's house. The first time I saw her, she was crying her eyes out, snot and tears everywhere. I was absolutely disgusted. But the moment she saw me, she stopped crying. Before I could even react, she hugged my legs and shouted crisply, "Pretty brother." Then she wiped her snot all over me. Great. At that moment, I had only one thought, throw her out. But her aunt got to her first and picked her up. My mom, on the side, couldn't stop laughing. I was in a bad mood that whole day, especially at the thought that my mom wanted me to marry her. That made it worse. I wanted to leave that very day, but my mom insisted on staying at her house for a few days. From that day on, I had a shadow. She would crawl into my bed at dawn, waking me up to play. She'd crawl back in again at night, insisting on sleeping with her big brother. She was unbearable, but I had to admit, she was kind of cute. There were times I wanted to scare her to tears so she'd stop clinging to me, but every time I looked into her big watery eyes, I just couldn't do it. Forget it. She's just a little kid. The day I left, Rita held my hand and secretly snuck me out of the house to a nearby river. She said she saw a lot of fish in the river and wanted to catch one for me as a parting gift. I thought it was too dangerous and tried to take her back, but she moved too fast and accidentally fell in. I panicked and jumped in after her without thinking, pushing her up to the shore. But I was still a child too. After saving her, I was swept away by the current and blacked out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My mom was crying beside me. My dad asked me why I went to the river. After thinking it over, I told him it was me. I wanted to catch fish and took Rita with me. That day, I got beaten with a belt so hard I couldn't move for nearly a month. Since then, I resented Rita. I swore that when I married her, I'd get my revenge. But when my mom went to propose the engagement again, she was rejected. Rita claimed she'd never met me before and didn't want to marry a stranger. That day, it felt like my world collapsed. Later, I found out she liked someone else. I had no choice but to bury those feelings deep inside. Until one day, during a business trip to Beijing, I visited a friend in the hospital. I saw someone covered in blood being rushed into the operating room. With just one glance, I knew it was Rita. She had gotten into a car accident while pregnant and was hemorrhaging. Her husband was off on a trip abroad with his lover. At that moment, my eyes turned red. I had only one thought: destroy Ryan, and I did exactly that. Then one day, I woke up again with all my memories. I had been reborn, back to a time when Rita wasn't married yet. Everything could still change. In this life, I still asked my parents to help arrange a proposal. But I wasn't willing to sit back and wait like last time. Just when I was about to take action, I got my answer. Rita said yes. I knew then. I wasn't the only one who had been reborn.